I'm not sure if it's a good opening question to start with, but I've been getting this question always, and I always try not to answer this question.
Do I have the option?
I don't think we'll be giving you that option. So, what do the students earn on an average? So, CFA level 1, let's say somebody who has passed a CFA level 1 exam. And before you answer, I mean, there are a lot of caveats because of which I don't answer the question, because it depends on your college, your grooming, the way you answer questions in an interview, the kind of economy is. For example, till June this year, the markets have been very, very dull in terms of hiring. It's going to pick up July and August onwards, particularly. Like last year till August, the markets were really very good in terms of hiring. Since last year, August, September, because the elections was there, and a lot of other factors also matter. So it's been kind of on a hiring freeze for most of the companies. And the freeze is out. The budgets will come up. The companies' budgets also come up after the first quarter once their annual reports and everything is sorted. So there are so many caveats because of which I refrain from answering. But since you've got a survey done with the institute and you have so much data points, I would really love to hear your thoughts on how do we look at the salary range. I'll ask you one at a time. So CFA level 1 past candidates.
I think I would rather take it all together. See,
Okay.
Ashwini, you have rightly pointed out the salary depends on a number of factors for any candidate, right? It depends of individual to individual, what's their capability, what's their qualification, where are they coming from, what's their education background, if you have work experience, or if you're just talking about fresher, there are a number of other factors. Okay, let me just break it down. What will matter? The industry type where you get interviewed or get recruited, right? Is it a global firm? Is it a domestic
Right.
firm? The segment of the industry, are you working for an asset management firm or a wealth firm, or for, I mean, the most talked about roles sometimes is about investment banking or PE, right? That also makes a difference, and the salary bracket range varies accordingly. Of course, you rightly pointed out what's the capability or how the student performs in an interview will also depend on that. Now, where does CFA come in? You're talking about what's the starting salary for, say, a fresher. I want to just twist that question. I'll say starting salary for a fresher, not an L1 fresher, an L2 fresher, an L3 fresher. Fresher with no absolute experience in the industry, right? A CFA comes in and helps you out to demonstrate to an employer that you have gone through a professional qualification. You had the rigor of working through the program. You had the discipline of spending in a structured manner. How do you go through the program? And you have now the technical knowledge. If you're cleared level 1, you have the foundational knowledge. If you're cleared level 2, you are gone a step further and can do a little bit more than the level 1. Of course, for level 3, I think that's where I would really encourage, while you've cleared level 1 and level 2, it's possible during your college years, during your undergrad years. At level 3, you need to be a graduate. And I will generally encourage candidates to start somewhere after level 1, level 2, and do level 3 along with an experience. So you start getting experience as you move along. You mentioned another point. We have done some survey, right? And I would like to throw some light on those outputs that we got. So yes, in 2022, we did a compensation and a career progression survey, essentially for candidates and members residing in India. We do something similar for the global community as well, right? So there was a global compensation survey. We are in fact repeating that. The output of the global survey will be out later this year.
Okay.
We are doing that mostly with a member. But the 2022 survey which we did was candidate focus, and the results, the outcomes that it showed us, and it's not just fresher I'm talking about, say, a new level 1 candidate. We had about 2,000 overall respondents across levels and members. Of that, when we looked at new level 1, they responded that on an average, they were getting about 9.8 lakhs. Now, this is with some years of experience. It was about 3 years of experience for new level 1 candidates. As you progress through level 2, that 9.8 moved up to 13.5, and likewise at level 3, 17.5. A charter holder, say with about close to 6 years of experience, were in the ballpark range of about 28, 29 lakhs. And then with further more years of experience, about 8 to 9 years, you move up to 44 lakhs. Now, these are average salaries. Your range can be anywhere. Say if I'm talking about 9.8 lakh for a 3 years experience candidate, new level 1, you can be anywhere between 4-6 lakhs to 12 lakhs as well, depending on other factors as well, right? So those are some ballpark figure that candidates can keep in mind. Now, this survey is there on CFA Institute website. So any candidate go on to cfainstitute.org. and there is a survey link called Impact Assessment. So I'll encourage that they go in and check the results from that survey. I hope that answers to some extent the queries which you mostly get.
Yes. So I refrain from answering, but you have data points, which I think you're in a better position to answer and give an accurate listing for it. And also, again, as we were talking about the level 1, level 2, level 3 candidates salary bracket. So there are people, let's say freshers. So have mentioned this in one of the classes. When you're going with a, let's say, CFA level 2 past candidate. So when you're mentioning CFA level 1 candidate, that means a person is preparing for the level 1 exam. When we talk about a level 2 candidate, you're preparing for level 2, you've passed level 1. So, say for example, somebody is already qualified level 2 and you go to an employer, let's say you're sitting at the interview table. So, the employer already knows that you understand equity, fixed income, alternate investments, and everything in depth to the tune of what is being tested at a level 2 level in the exam. What he wants to test you is how you apply that, whether you're able to talk, whether, say, for example, if I give you a sample stock, let's say, would you be able to write a report and show it to me, a sample report, let's see your writing skills. So these are the things that gets tested on an interview table. So the employer already knows that you have the technical knowledge and you have the domain knowledge, the subject knowledge and expertise to a very good extent to what the institute is testing you. But beyond that, that interview conversion is going to depend on you. And then how you perform at the job and how you escalate or as you grow and progress in your career is going to depend on your performance. So how much of an eye to detail you have, how many errors do you make, what is the speed at which you're reading, you're absorbing data. So a lot of factors matters in terms of your career progression also once you're in the job. So a lot of factors have to be taken into consideration, because a lot of times I see students kind of treating it as a mutually exclusive. Either I'll have a degree or I'll be street smart. They don't want to put the two things together. Like you want a degree or the skill set, but not together. So together is going to be the best combination, right? So you have to have the knowledge and the ability to apply that.
Yeah, I'll absolutely agree with you, Ashwini. Just for student, I mean, this is something we keep hearing from employers, right? You have the technical knowledge, but to communicate, to express that knowledge at an interview table, many times students are found out. So don't ignore those soft skills, your communication, ability to write or verbally communicate then your knowledge, right? That's an important trait that will be seen not just at an interview table, but once you start off on your role as well, it plays a very crucial factor. So work on those. It comes naturally to some, but not to all. So there has to be some cognizant of some of those factors that vary student to student.
They can develop. So a lot of students at times think that you're an introvert and they'll not be comfortable doing that. I mean, just don't share your personal life. You don't have to be an extrovert in order to be communicating what you've learned and what you've studied and what you know already. So
absolutely,
you can just train yourself.
I think the knowledge, more you read, more you become confident, right? Read papers, read magazines, connect the theory that you're learning to what is happening out there. And that's where you become more confident to speak out during interviews or during your job roles as well, right? So read as much as you can. That will help you connect to from theory to practical more easily. And write, of course, it cannot be only on your memory. You write some research report, put it out there on LinkedIn, you build a web model, put it up there for feedback. So that's where the confidence will go for you to speak out. So that's developing your skill set also.
So one question we had regarding scholarship, I know I've asked you quite a few questions on scholarship already. There's one on student scholarship versus women's scholarship. So can you just throw a little light on it?
Oh, you want me to be very specific on this to scholarship?
I mean, just for the students, I mean, who applies for what and what do they get in which?
Okay, I'll just broaden it up, right? One of the most popular scholarship, as most of the candidates or prospects know, is Access Scholarship. Now, those windows for Access Scholarship are open twice in a year. It's currently closed. So check back on our website somewhere towards September to understand what's the latest. And we keep on refreshing and updating our policies. So go back to our website. Ashwini pointed out on a couple of other scholarships. So beyond Access, we do have other scholarship. Women's scholarship is to encourage women candidates to come into the program if they are interested to pursue a career in the investment management field. Whereas there's something else called student scholarship. Now, this student scholarship is more for students who are in a program where we have partnered in a university, So in short, CFA Institute works with the number of universities and some of their finance program, which gets affiliated based on how well they are mapped or aligned to the CFA program. And if that program is acknowledged or approved by us as part of the UAP program, so CFA Institute runs something called as a university affiliation program, where we map the university curriculum to CFA program. If it's aligned 70 to 80%, then we do approve take them on board as a UAP. The students who are pursuing their undergrad, postgrad at such universities do get scholarship, which is decided by the universities themselves.
Perfect. So basically, access scholarship, anybody and everybody can apply. Student scholarship, the ones who are a part of the university, which are empaneled or listed with the institute, they can apply. And women's scholarship, anybody who's a woman can apply.
Correct. If there are any changes around this, we do communicate it through well in advance.
Perfect. Next question is application of CFA in investment banking. I think since Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara days and the Wolf of Wall Street, I think this become a little too hyped. So what is your take on application of CFA in investment banking?
You are saying little too hyped. I sometimes describe it like the Hollywood of finance, right? It's very glamorous. Hear from somebody else, whether it's a movie or from somebody else out there, that the job pays very well, it's very rewarding, and so on and so forth. So if I were to just take a step back, what is an investment banking role, right? What are you required to do, and what are the skill sets that's required over here? You'll be required to work around deal execution, right? Which requires a strong understanding of the sector, right? If you're working on some sector, you need to have those understanding in depth if you have to put some deal together for that. You need to have a strong business acumen, right? When we talk about frontline roles, the M&A roles, where you're going to get deals on the table, you need to know a lot more beyond just finance, right? How will it impact the overall mergers, whatever account you're dealing with? You have to have that business acumen and understanding the client requirements, right? What are they putting forth? You need to have strong networking skills on ground. You have to engage with clients out there. And beyond that, if you're working as an analyst within an investment banking firm, you'll need to routinely develop client pitch books. You need to get involved with presentations and roadshows. And there will be a number of times RFPs floated out, requests for proposals. So you'll have to get involved at those stages. Now, there are different levels of roles within an IB firm, right? What the glamorous one, we talk about M&A and all. It's intellectual, it's stimulating, but it requires long hours and strenuous hours. Right, it's not that's a role that's it's made for everyone. Individual, you have to analyze yourself, what kind of person you are, right? Well, the role might be rewarding, there are other roles in the market which will be rewarding as well. So if you are somebody who can be pushed to the limit, are ready to do the day in and day out, then probably you can look at those kind of front end roles. Otherwise, there are roles within the analyst team within this firm, so you can explore those as well for the first few years and understand how it works. Now, the hiring is also limited. Right? Hiring is limited.
Actually, also what happens is a lot of patience is needed, which people do not know until they get into the profile. Because I talk to these guys regularly, a lot of my students are into investment banking, and I see that, you're trying for a deal right now and it takes you a year, maybe a 14-15 months. At times you've pitched something to a client today and he comes back after 8 months, then the deal process takes another year or 12 months or so at times. So it's a huge amount of patience that is needed in terms of being able to crack that deal also.
A lot of the skills is where an employer will look at skill sets which an MBA program might develop, or maybe they're only the top cream MBA schools where they go for hiring. Where does CFA come in? CFA comes in, will give you exposure to the international accounting standards or financial analysis skills, or getting an understanding on corporate finance or understanding of different asset classes. Those are also important, and that's what CFA will cover. But there are other skill sets that is required to break into those roles, which is CFA doesn't cover.
Right. So I keep on telling the students to develop that themselves, because, for example, one of my kids, Akash, he's working in the Forex and Treasury, and he's managing billions of dollars worth of treasury, and he's just got an experience of maybe 5-7 years or so. So you'll have to prove yourself, you'll have to develop those, for example, a negotiating skill. So that is something that you'll have to develop. The ability to stretch for those 14-15 hours, the ability to read tons and tons of data and to make sense out of it. So these things, along with your curriculum, you'll have to work on these things. And the other thing, as you mentioned about the number of roles, so if everybody is looking at just investment banking, it obviously will feel a little more challenging. And finance is so much wider than just investment banking and equity, because any company that is taking any strategic decisions also, anything and everything is revolving around finance and how it is going to be impacting your PL and balance sheet and everything. So
Absolutely.
ultimately we have to take decisions based on money, which is wherein finance comes in. So I always advise students to widen their perspective when they're looking at the roles and opportunities. Business finance is such a good field that is picked up so well.
Thanks, Ashwin. And I will agree with you on that. Broaden your horizon, right? Don't get siloed on one or two roles. When you start off, there are a number of opportunities, and we'll probably touch upon them a little later.
Right.
On what all you should be looking out for.
So next question is around the difference between CFA India versus CFA USA. At times I see students having this question.
Okay. The answer is there's no difference. It's one and the same qualification in the program that is run globally, right? CFA program, whether you sit for level 1 in Mumbai and level 2 in Singapore and level 3 in New York, say, it's one and the same program. A candidate giving a level 1 for CFA in, say, February 25 in Mumbai was a candidate giving in New York the same exam. Of course, the question might vary, but it is run by CFA Institute globally, right? So there is no differentiation. That's where the recognition is there globally.
Correct.
Wherever you're traveling tomorrow, if you're to travel with work or otherwise as well, right? A CFA charter holder is a CFA charter holder. We do not demarcate them based on markets.
And I think they have a confusion because there is a CFA B school in Hyderabad. So that was a CFA institute in India, particularly earlier, maybe 10, 12 years back. So there is an ICFI business school. So IB as they call it. So that is separate. That does not give you a CFA designation. So it is only one institute located in the US where the exams take place in like 150 countries or so across the world, which is giving you the CFA designation, the CFA charter. And there is no other CFA institute across the world. Right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Right. Yes. And a student can take the exam one in one country and the level 2 in the other one and level 3 in the other one. And unlike subjects like taxation and law, which is different for different country, finance is something which is very, very global. So even what we study is very global way, and we do not look at any particular country's finance as such in the entire curriculum across the 3 levels.
That's correct. Absolutely.
Perfect. Now my next question is, what kind of jobs should a CFA level 1 candidate or a CFA level 1 passed candidate should be looking at?
Thanks, Ashwini. And I think it ties somewhere to the earlier discussion we are having as well around freshers and where do we get it, right?
When we are talking about roles, I said a lot of candidates come into the program with the hope and expectation to start as a portfolio manager or a fund manager on day one, right? So that's not the case. There is a journey that you will need to go through, right? Roles available when we start off will be, if I just talk about titles, it will be an analyst or an associate role, right? Where do I find these roles? Now, there are different segments of the industry, right? The traditional asset management industry is where you can look out for these roles, right? A lot of the students start off their career as an analyst with one of the teams of maybe a buy side or a sell side firm. Now, analysts also are different types of analysts, be it equity or fixed income. You can get into any kind of those roles as well, right? And then you progress along those times. Similarly, I talked about asset management, then there are wealth management firms also, which is coming up in a big way. You can start off as a planner or a financial analyst in a wealth firm as well. We have significant presence of global capability centers in India, the GCCs as we describe them, right? So those are the companies also where we can start off looking for roles. One of my suggestion to candidates is don't be very picky when you're starting off in your career, right? Even if it's kind of a sales role, operations role, get a foot into the industry. Any experience is a relevant experience. You can always talk about, once you get your foot in the industry, you will start understanding the industry more in detail, right? So don't ignore any experience. And build connections. You'll learn, you'll build connections, be it sales, operation roles also. Don't neglect the word go. And then you move on from there on to the career. So don't restrict off yourself when you're starting off in your career. Be ready to take that initial step, and then career builds up from there on.
Also, with more experience, you become more placeable in other roles as well, because everybody is looking for a little experienced candidate. Now even Big Fours and other companies are so many boutique consulting firms as well. There is so much of activity going on in the PE/VC space, venture capital, private equity, startup space. There's also any company and every company's finance and strategy role. is what I look at
Correct.
as well, because that gives a much broader landscape for people to apply for roles. And I've seen people, for example, one of the lectures we had shot with Aditya Khemka, he joined pharmaceutical treasury corporate finance department, and that's when he ventured into pharmaceutical equity research, and then he became a pharma fund manager, and then now he's expanding into different sectors in terms of fund management. So it is a journey, as you mentioned, but you need to be a little more open, and there's way more roles when you're looking at the industry at large. And even
Correct.
equity research analysts and all, they develop a domain expertise. They have to have an industry expertise. You're not industry agnostic at the very beginning.
I agree completely. I mean, if you are narrowing your focus, then you will only see an X number of jobs out there. But if you
Right.
think for a little bit more broader, that's where you start getting experience and you are valued for that, right? So your first challenge of getting a foot into the industry should be solved over there.
Sachin, I just took a few questions in the chat box in the meantime.
Thanks for that.
So Saransh has a question. He's passed 12 this year, and he's got a 4-year BCom. So is he eligible for level 1 in August 2025? So yes, you're eligible for level 1 in August 2025. There's a detailed eligibility lecture that you can check. Ashrit has a question on doing international internship after CFA level 1 passed. Yes, but it's difficult. International is again very global, so it depends on which country you're talking about. How's the economy in that country, whether they're taking interns on a work from home basis from across the globe or not. So a lot of factors will matter. But if you're planning to relocate to another country, of course, having a global designation matters. Also, it depends on the visa and all the other factors that is involved in that particular country. For example, Dubai is more receptive right now as compared to a Europe or a US is still okay, or Europe or Canada, for example. So based on compared to that, of course, Dubai is way more accepting at the moment. So you have to again evaluate all those factors when you're taking a call on that. There's one more question I have from Saravanan. If you're an engineer or you do not have an accounting background, there is no problem, because there are basics of accounting as in financial statements. You don't have to prepare financial statements. You have to be able to read and understand financial statements, because anything and everything to do with not only finance, but strategy, marketing, everything has to be evaluated in terms of the financial impact. So that part is covered in the level 1 itself. There are a good proportion of engineers and non-commerce students who take up finance. So there's no problem. So engineers might have a little edge in the quant subject. Accounting and commerce students might have a little edge in the financial reporting subject. Economic students might have a little edge in the economic subject. So it totally depends on that. Skills in terms of becoming valuable in this field, in the field of finance, for I think for any field, your communication skills, your negotiation skills, your writing skills, the ability to read. So reading fast, reading and understanding information, being able to communicate. It's, being able to explain, because you have to work with people, you have to work with your colleagues, you'll have to explain problems, you'll have to understand the instructions that is being given to you. I feel communication is such a lacking aspect in most of the people that we interact with, and that is something that you really need to build upon. And also, the EQ, the right EQ towards work, in terms of that focus and concentration, the ability to pull a little long hours, having that value system in place to not say no to things that are being told to you. Somebody who says yes to everything and who's willing to learn everything. You cannot say that I'm going to do only this part and this part of the work I'll not do, because you will not have a 100% customized job role for you ever in any kind of work that you do. So you'll have to be a little more open to that, because a lot of times what we see is social media and a lot of memes and everything subconsciously are impacting us in a very negative way. So those things also you'll have to work upon. Charter holder, there's a question. I manage portfolio for people. Can I show that as an experience? So there's a charter holder PDF. You can ping the coordinator. You'll get all the details. Since we're running a little short of time, the coordinator will answer that. But you'll have to show your experience. You have to write about your experience and have 2 references, and the institute approves it, as long as it is related to the finance aspect. Science students have already answered this. Mokshi has a question. Can science students get into finance? Yes. Precisely, yes. I just answered that, eco students will find eco easier. Finance students, non-commerce students, engineers, etc. would be finding, PCB students will find quants easier. And the commerce students will be finding financial reporting analysis subject easier. So everybody's got a little one subject in level 1 that they find easier. But other than that, it's finance is not commerce actually. So the other subjects in CFA, for example, you do not study in college in commerce. There's only an overlap with economics, a little bit of statistics maybe in case some people have that in college, and financial reporting analysis. Otherwise, when we're looking at fixed income, equity, derivatives, portfolio, alternate investments and all, it is not exactly about...
Yeah.